So we are now going to explore a different angle of these California fires. Here, woman says her parents fire insurance got canceled shortly before the fires. They're 90 years old. They've lived in this house for 75 years, and they've had the same insurance. So we're going to take a look at this video. This is a 2 or 3 minutes long.
Supposed to be here, but this is my parents' home.
I know the feeling.
And they just they got canceled from their fire insurance. So they're dealing with this. They're 90 years old. And through the state of California, because of this, they're 90 years old, that they've lived in this house for 75 years, and they've had the same insurance, and these insurance people decided to cancel their fire. And we're going through this, and it just happened, and they have no fire insurance. So thank you, California insurance companies, supporting residents who pay taxes and love California. And they wonder why people leave California.
First and foremost, you did get your parents out safely.
I live in Sierra Madre. My parents are in Sierra Madre, but...
And now you know that it is under evacuation as well, north of Sierra Madre Boulevard.
Yeah, I snuck here. You know, there's a will, there's a way. Probably shouldn't do it, but you know what? Under the circumstances, send me to jail. That's fine.
It is.
So, under the circumstances, I imagine part of what factored into her decision to go and try and protect her parents' home is the fact that their fire insurance has been canceled, right? And so they're not going to get any relief and support if that home goes up in flames. And so now you have a lot of people like this woman here, who herself is, I believe, 62, having to take it upon themselves to protect what's theirs because insurance companies have been canceling fire policies in recent years in response to these fires. They are considered uninsurable homes. Anything before we go on?
Yeah, I mean, the evidence is mounting, and I am hoping that what I believe will be the total failure of Trump's administration will finally be the thing that will allow people to have a conversation that we've been trying to have for a very long time, some much longer than us. This system does not work. Everything they feed you about patriotism and, yes, well, people who work hard and play by the rules should be able to get ahead. They should, but they don't and they can't because the system is antithetical to a world of fair outcomes like that. There was a brief period where you had a kind of another Goldilocks zone, an economic Goldilocks zone, where you had the New Deal had instilled these protections for workers, and World War II had bombed most of our competitors back to the Stone Age. There was this little golden age where you had a combination of strong unions, worker protections, and almost unlimited opportunity to make money, at the very least to support your family. Right. That has created this very difficult to kill myth in America that, well, it works. It's just you have to tweak this or you have to tweak that. And it's made it very difficult to convince people in a large enough number to create critical mass for real revolutionary movements. No. The core premise of this doesn't work. And if you look at this little period where it did, in the context of the history of the country, it's the exception, not the rule. Ever heard of the Gilded Age? Right? It's not like everything was fine until recently. You had a little pocket in the post-war period where, due to very unusual circumstances, you had unusually broad-based prosperity in the country. that was an aberration. That was not the norm. This is the norm for this
Right.
system.
Yep, 100%. And nothing demonstrates that more than this article here. This just came out last night. This could be the beginning of the end for fire insurance in California. I would quibble slightly. This might be the end of the end for fire insurance in California. This might be it. I think the beginning of the end was a few years ago, as we will note, as this article mentions. Wednesday's firestorm in a wealthy area of Los Angeles, which, again, this is a little obsolete because now this fire has blown everywhere, could be the final straw that breaks California's insurance market. The state's insurance market has been teetering on the edge of insolvency for years thanks to catastrophic wildfires that have driven many insurers to stop writing new policies and drop existing ones. Wednesday's wind-driven wildfires in a part of Los Angeles packed with multi-million-dollar homes could accelerate its collapse. It's obviously going to be bad, said Representative Brad Sherman, the Democrat who represents the neighborhood between Malibu and Santa Monica, where the Palisades fire, one of 6 burning uncontained across the region, had destroyed.
It's still, I've been checking the headlines. It's still completely out of control.
Oh yeah. No, this is again, this is the most devastating event in decades, as far back as I can remember. Had destroyed more than 1,000 buildings as of Wednesday afternoon. We've already seen big increases, and we've seen these increases not only in houses that are close to the brush, but in areas where you're surrounded by other homes. President-elect Donald Trump called out the issue Wednesday as he bashed Democrats for the deadly wind-fueled conflagrations that forced tens of thousands of people to flee their homes. Earlier in the live stream, we showed you that video where he mentioned the insurance markets having a rough time. The fires in Los Angeles may go down in dollar amount as the worst in the history of our country. In many circles, they're doubting whether insurance companies will even have enough money to pay for this catastrophe. Let this serve and be emblematic of the gross incompetence and mismanagement of the Biden new scum duo. January 20th cannot come fast enough. Well, as Russell said earlier, it's more emblematic of the just fundamental design flaws in this capitalist system of ours. When insurance goes insolvent, I mean, now you're dating back to, Italian mercantilism, which was the sort of, found the genesis of insurance, right? Right? I mean, nothing is more foundational to capitalism than insurance. So when insurance fails, that's how you know your system has failed, right? That's how you know there is no safety net left. There is nothing undergirding this system anymore. It's just a black hole.
Well, and this is where, and I'm, I don't want to upset or depress people. We know a lot of homeowners out there, including Jimmy. Hey, man, I told him when I was talking to him yesterday, man, in New Orleans, the property values go down every year. And a big part of that is because you can't get insurance anymore.
Right.
You have to go to the state, which is extremely expensive and not really great insurance. It's the insurer of last resort. All of these, as these hurricanes hit, the last one, if you remember a couple of years ago, that was kind of the last straw. I think like 4 more companies left when that hurricane hit. Now that's going to happen in Los Angeles. So how are you going to sustain these property values? Like, I don't see how you don't ultimately get a collapse in property values there as these homes become uninsurable.
Yeah, I think you're right. The state's insurer of last resort, speak of the devil, known as the FAIR Plan, predicted that it would be able to pay out. We are aware of misinformation being posted online regarding the FAIR Plan's ability to pay claims, spokesperson Hillary McLean said in a statement on behalf of the FAIR Plan. It is too early to provide loss estimates as claims are just beginning to be submitted and processed, McLean wrote, noting the plan was prepared for this kind of a disaster and has payment mechanisms, including reinsurance, to cover claims. But California faces a double-barreled threat. More on the FAIR Plan in a moment, by the way, in case you don't know what that is. Private insurers could continue to drop policies and decline to write new ones, as they've been increasingly doing since a series of severe fires beginning in 2017 with the Tubbs Fire in Northern California. And the FAIR Plan, which has been absorbing the shrinking private market, could run out of money to pay its claims. That wouldn't mean going bankrupt, as McLean noted. Instead, it would draw from primary insurers to recoup its costs under state law, raising rates across all private policies and sending rates skyrocketing across the state. So what I mentioned in the last segment, when you look at the failure of the neoliberal model, which is the merging of private corporations with the state, these private public partnerships, and the whole philosophy that we could just harness the goodwill and power of the market in partnership with the government to get us through crises like this is what they're going to count on now. They're going to count on private insurance companies collaborating to backstop the FAIR Plan when it runs out of money, which, of course, even if that is doable, and we don't know how doable that is because a lot of the private insurance companies are going to have a hard time paying out all of these claims. Because don't forget, you got houses here that are worth $20 million fucking dollars. I mean, this is like this is not like. And again, I don't mean any disrespect. I was saying this is not the lower Ninth Ward, right? Where the average home value is $60,000, right? Again, I don't mean any disrespect to that, obviously. But I'm just saying, as a matter of dollars and cents, one of these homes is worth like 30 standard homes, right? So, I mean, this adds up extremely quickly. But assuming they can backstop the FAIR Plan, you're talking about a tremendous tax on the system that is going to shoot private rates through the roof. Because in addition to having paid out all of these claims to their private clients, if these firms like Allstate, State Farm, they have to backstop these FAIR Plan claims. Again, as you said, Russell, how are you going to be able to take an insurance policy out on a home in LA after this? Right. It's not going to be possible. I can't see how it's possible. I can't see how they get through this. I don't even see how they get through this, to be honest with you.
Right. You're going to have state insurance, which the state's not going to be able to sustain that either. So the state would wind up having to have the federal government fund the insurance in order to keep people living there.
Exactly. This is sort of what everybody's been preparing for, said Carl Sussman, an insurance broker in West Los Angeles, who's filing dozens of claims on behalf of clients. This is why rates are going up. This is why carriers are freaking out. State Farm dropped nearly 70% of its policies in the Pacific Palisades neighborhood last year, according to a state filing, more than any other zip in the state. Hold on. Turn my mic filter on because my baby's crying. That forced more people into the FAIR Plan, which was originally created in the 1960s to insure riot-scarred Los Angeles neighborhoods, but has since found more demand in rural and suburban fire-prone regions. In Pacific Palisades alone, the FAIR Plan insures nearly $6 billion worth of property, according to September figures, more than all but 4 communities in California. Across the state, the total value of FAIR-insured properties was $458 billion. That's almost $500 billion is essentially uninsured. That's what I mean, as we'll see in a minute. That means you're basically uninsured. Almost $500 billion worth of properties in California are forced into this really, if I might say, shady insurance plan called the FAIR Plan, triple the total insured value in 2020, according to FAIR Plan data. So in 2020, only 3% of California residents were insured under the FAIR Plan. Now, if we assume that the average value of property added, remain the same, you're talking about now almost 10%, almost 1 in 10. Again, that assumes the property values remained about the same. We don't have that math at our fingertips right now, but you could see a tripling in dollars insured by the FAIR Plan. So what is the FAIR Plan? Bank rate, FAIR Plan home insurance, what homeowners should know. So here's the deal you get when you sign up under this FAIR Plan. A FAIR Plan, which stands for Fair Access to Insurance Requirements, is a program that allows high-risk homeowners to purchase a home insurance policy. People who get insurance through a FAIR Plan are typically not eligible for coverage through the standard home insurance market because their home is located in a high-risk area or they have other red flags that deter insurers. That is neoliberal government speak for fair plans are more expensive because they go to people who really need insurance but can't get it. Like if your home is high risk, that means you need insurance more.
Insurer of last resort.
Exactly. Fair plans are state-run programs that are financially supported by private insurance companies. A fair plan is slightly different from a typical home insurance company because it is a shared market plan. So it's not just the government insuring you. It's a shared market plan. So rather than getting coverage from a single insurance company, technically several insurance companies cover your property in a fair plan, limiting the amount of risk that one company assumes. Small print there. So basically they're saying, hey, if this is too risky for State Farm to take on by itself, they'll chip in a little bit of the risk. We'll get some other companies to chip in some more risk, and then they will all band together to cover your insurance claim if and when you file one. If you have to file a claim, every participating company pays for a portion of your loss. When it comes to the actual coverage, homeowners insurance through a fair plan is pretty limited. Many plans only include dwelling and personal property coverage on a named perils basis. You most likely cannot get liability, medical payments, or loss of use coverage through a fair plan. Further, most states' fair plans only insure homes at actual cash value as opposed to replacement cost value. Fair plan home insurance is intended to be a last resort option. You cannot apply for home insurance through your state's fair plan as your first option because you will have to prove that you have been denied home insurance by several private companies. So these fair plans are basically shitty insurance plans that are there as a last resort for people who, oddly enough, are in most need of insurance because their homes are at highest risk. So that's what people are being forced into now at a pretty fast rate in California. The value backed by these fair plan sort of schemes, if you will, has tripled in just the last 4 years.
Right.
And now you don't know what the future holds for insurance in California after this, because I'd be surprised if they even make this through solvently.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It's in the end, these areas, these regions of the country, whole regions, places that people are moving to in very large numbers. I'm sorry. Texas, Florida. It's amazing to me that you have so many people who are just like, nah, it'll be fine. It'll be. Why do you believe that? On what evidence could you possibly believe that moving to these places that are clearly whatever reason you believe? There are very few people who literally don't believe the climate is changing. You have some people who say, well, it's not the gas, or it's not. Okay, whatever you believe the reason for it is. I pointed out with LA, it's somewhat cyclical. 20th century weather was optimal and unusual for the area. Whatever reason you believe, clearly there are more and more droughts, more and more wildfires, more and more hurricanes. And you have all these people moving to these places that are most vulnerable to those things. Like, yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Why do you think that? Why do you think that? Even if you are not directly in the line of literal fire, the air quality resulting from the surrounding fires in these regions is very damaging to human health. It's I call it Pompeii syndrome. You know, you knew there was a volcano there. It was smoking. What'd you think? It was never going to erupt? You decided to live there anyway? Okay. Actually, there's a myth about Pompeii. A lot of people did leave Pompeii.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. The people who stayed behind were poor.
Please clap.